Hi, welcome back to another episode of Sweet Talks. I'm your host, Pulse. Today, I have the pleasure of having George Boya as a guest. Hi, George.
Hello, how are you? Thank you very much for the invitation for a sweet talk.
Thank you for being here. I've heard really good things from Vlad. I've also done some research of my own into your art. But before we kind of get into things, maybe you can give us a brief introduction of who you are and what you do.
Yes, of course. My name is, as I said, George Boya, my artist name. I'm a digital collage artist. I started 15 years ago, back at more than 50 years ago, back at 2004, doing hand cut collages, and then later I jumped to digital collages, making animations also. And I like sci-fi films very much. I always express it through my artworks. And more than art, the ideas behind, the science fiction stories and all the technological achievements that will be maybe in the future. And I started as an NFT artist back at 2020, at April, 2 years ago. It was a really fun ride so far, and it was, I never felt like an artist before the NFT scene. To tell you the truth, it was always more like a side job, a hobby, a passion, something like that. I was always working, and then I was coming to my studio, making artworks, trying to, make collections and series of artworks and stuff like that. At the same time, also surf the social media, trying to gain exposure or maybe some kind of work or a sale. And I say it because I feel like that when I jumped in the NFT space, I kind of brought a digital legacy with me. I think other artists also were in the same boat. Some started new, discovering art and making art, and some of us brought a kind of legacy with us. So we had the material to work, but also to, kind of bring them to a new future, a new environment.
Right.
I feel like sometimes I say that. If my artwork was my children, this was the future I was dreaming for them at the first time.
You know what? It's interesting you say that you feel like you only became a true artist once the kind of Web3 and NFT stuff came out. Why do you feel like that? Like when was your first NFT sale?
Well, my first NFT sale was 2 years ago. It was a sci-fi animation. It was from my most favorite series and the most known, Rise of Homo Mechanicus. And it was The Messenger. That was the title. It was a very symbolic title.
So as soon as you put it out, like you got a sale straight away, like in the same year?
Yes, in the same week.
Nice. Okay. So is that when you realized, like, okay, there's something here now?
Well, I had an experience with the crypto world from 2017.
Okay.
It was my first contact with crypto. I didn't know anything about Bitcoin or about it, nothing at all. I just saw an ad at Facebook about Steemit. Steemit is still, anyway, a blogging platform like Reddit, but it has a proof of work, proof of stake mechanism that kind of rewards you for the posts that you made. Anyway, it was a first experience. But I started thinking of stuff like first that I can take the middleman out with this process. Then I was started thinking all this, how can I say it, that my art is living now at the blockchain. I mean, no one can take it away, no one it cannot be lost, it cannot be, I mean, as long as the blockchain exists, it will exist. These were some ideas that, you know, we were talking about them back even before NFTs. I think it was in the middle of making them and making the whole movement.
Right.
And then later when, you know, 2020 NFTs started becoming a little more known at the crypto world, and I first found out about them. I saw that all these ideas that I was thinking about started taking form. I mean, in this way, we had a blockchain, we had a timestamp. We said that this is where my artwork exists. This is mine. It was, you know, it is still very, very amazing for an artist. I don't know if most of the people understand what's going on, but an artist wants his art to live forever. I mean, if my art lives forever in immutable blockchain, I mean, it is the best possible outcome.
Right. Yeah. It gives you a lot of freedom that before you didn't have. But before we kind of dive more into the tech side, I did want to talk about your style from your art. You know, especially with the last NFT drop I saw you did, but also from your earlier work. For me, the first thing that came to my mind, apart from, you know, which was evident, the sci-fi aspect of it, but also, you know, was very apparent for me was it almost looked like a mural, you know, like glass mural. So I saw like a combination of like a futuristic glass mural thing, which was very interesting. I can say for sure that you have, you know, your own unique style.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, when I started back in 2004, the idea, I was not an artist before. I mean, I was doing a little bit of art, but the idea was to create a stained glass window, but using paper instead of glass,
Right.
paper pieces instead of glass pieces. That was the idea. So I worked it in my mind. I mean, how technically this can happen. I found a way. I mean, a way that you know, you can easily do this.
Mm.
And when I made the first artwork, I was you know, fascinated by it, and said that, you know, I want to keep on doing it and keep on changing stuff. First, it was photographs from magazines, National Geographic, stuff like that. I was cutting them. Then it was prints. I printed colors, a gradient of colors, and start doing another artwork. Then I said to myself that, you know, it was the photos that have the value. I mean, it was not the color. And I switched again to photos with mechanical patterns from advertisements, from stuff like that. And I started manipulating them to give the stained glass effect, but also to try to create something aesthetically beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
And play with every part of it,
What
trying to give it volume or.
what I noticed well, one of the things I noticed was in the details that you have, like whether it looks exactly like a mural because of the shape of it, or not. What I noticed was the line work, right? The detail that you had in the line work that's what made it for me stand out like a mural, because you could even take away the rest of the shape, but the inner workings of it still look like a mural.
Yes, I understand. You know, the funny thing is that the line work that you see, it's really the black paper that is the background. I mean, everything is like a puzzle,
Okay.
but they do not have a contact between them. They have a gap like a line. So it's
Right.
like it's like a puzzle, and the black background is all the lines, the black lines that
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And
it was.
I also saw you experimented with some animations. like a variation of that into moving. How far into kind of the visualizer aspect have you worked on it?
My animations are a bit simple in technique. I use frame-to-frame animation because I like the mechanical effect also that gives. I mean, there is not this flow that you see. It's more mechanical things like that.
Right.
And the idea was first to make one of the hand-cut creations, the original, to give them a bit of movement and stuff like that. And it turned out to be a nice idea in general and a very nice process. I mean, I'm making everything in Photoshop. So it's, as you have almost all the control. I mean,
Right.
you do not put something and something on the other side comes with movement. You have to put every little motion, and I like it that way. I think that I mean I tried other ways, but it's the one that I like the most. It's a bit like a puzzle, a bit like a riddle. You have to have a plan before, and then it's always the process must be always beautiful for the artist to have to gain something yourself. I mean,
So
also.
when you have this process, like you say you start off with Photoshop, how do you then translate that into an animation? Like, for example, beforehand, is there any sketching? Do you draw anything out by hand? Do you work straight away in Photoshop? And then after that, when you have, all the elements, all the layers, how do you animate it? Like, which program do you use?
No, I'm not making sketches. I use only Photoshop in this. Photoshop
Okay.
can do also frame-to-frame animation.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
Most people do not know it can do frame-to-frame animation.
Okay, so you're doing everything internally within Photoshop.
Yes, with a lot of saved files. I made a lot of libraries in a way that I take stuff and do some experimenting a bit before. So it's like sketching in Photoshop also.
Okay.
Everything is done there, and mostly I do it that way because I like the process and I like the effect that you have it at the end. I mean this mechanical like
Right.
effect,
Yeah.
and most of all are kind of hiding one layer and showing another. I mean it's the most basic, the one that the animators of the old before computers were doing. Taking a lot of sketches and doing them one after another so that they can have the movement. It's
So it's almost like stop motion, right?
stop motion. Yeah, stop
Nice.
motion.
Okay.
Frame to frame animation. It's a stop motion thing. You have a lot of control. You cannot do everything that you want. Of course, you can take it to another program later if you like. But you have all the control, and I like this process of hiding and showing. I like playing with layers a lot, a lot.
And in terms of the actual shapes and the figures that you use, because I saw, some like mechanical hands, I saw like space, I saw some like chess pieces at some point.
Yeah.
Where do you get your inspiration from these shapes?
Well, again, it's the sci-fi world that inspires me always. But I have a kind of weird process. I will try to, to explain to you because I have to practice myself saying it also. Uh, all these art that you saw, the mechanical shapes, the chess pieces, the other artworks, stuff like that. I used only one photo as a material, as a basic material to create everything. I used only a photo, like it's the photo of KitchenAid machine, the one that you make dough and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
From an advertisement, and I'm constantly fractalizing it in a way.
Okay, interesting.
I create a shape, then I use the shape, then I take the shape, I mirror it, cut it, make something new, combine it with something else, and then recombine it again to make a new shape. So everything has one photo as a starting point. And it's a bit like, when you're making the bread and you take, a piece of dough from the previous one and you are putting it, and again, it's like, this. And I think it's appropriate for the blockchain in a way also.
Yeah, for sure.
It has
So have you tried doing any physical NFTs yet, or like any physical art?
physical art. Yes.
What
Yes,
have you what have you done?
well, mostly collages again, hand-cut collages, but I did a lot. I don't like to do them anymore. I think I prefer better to do all the process in a digital, with digital tools, and the physical. It's not something that attracts me anymore. I think that there are so many things that you can do now in the digital space. So many things that you can create anew, and I don't know. That does not do not have the same feeling about
Right.
the physical. But you can use the same principles to create something digital. It can exist in digital space, in a digital gallery, and you get the same feeling about it.
So no future plans to make any physical NFTs, or?
I don't know. Is the physical NFT something that you give alongside with the digital NFT in a way? I mean,
That's a phygital.
that's yeah, you are right.
Yeah,
How can you do a physical NFT in a way?
a physical NFT is something that's purely, the physical aspect. Like you don't get any digital. The combination of it, digital and physical, is the phygital that I said. Like for example, we have some releases where musical releases, and it's one of one, and it's a physical NFT, and it's a vinyl, right? It's a gold vinyl, which there's like 3 tiers. So the first tier is the actual physical one. You buy the vinyl, we ship it to you. The other ones are digital ones, right? So either a digital album or a digital single. But
Oh, I see. Yeah,
I just find interesting the physical aspect of the NFTs, especially with Rare Candy. We're trying to see what's really possible with physical NFTs. But I just find that interesting for 2 reasons. One, I think it's easier to onboard people into the NFT scene because they can have something tangible in their hands, right? And the other aspect of it is just exciting, because if I get like a physical NFT that's sent to me, for me it has like a certain excitement, like when you used to wait for like a package to arrive and whatever it was, like a CD or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
I just think it's really interesting, and
It
I
is,
just like sorry to interrupt, but the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because I think your art is very interesting, and I would love to see how that could work within like a format of a physical NFT.
well, yes. I have not, now that you're saying about the music, it makes sense to me, indeed. But I don't know, it poses the question that what collectors also want. Do they want a physical thing, or do they want a digital thing? Because if there are the collectors of we have in the blockchain, they want the digital thing. If new collectors will come used to have physical, will they want the physical NFT or the digital one? It is a bit of.
I think it depends.
It depends.
I think it depends on a lot of things. I think it depends, firstly, on which blockchain you're putting it on, right? Because it's a different thing to sell on Solana, on Ethereum, on Tezos, because they have their own following, they have their own collectors. From my experience, I would probably say a physical NFT would make more sense on an Ethereum blockchain, which, you know, you're probably going to sell it for a lot more money than you would
Yeah,
in
Bezos,
Tezos,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
But it's also in the way that you put out the NFT. If you're putting out, for example, one physical NFT, it might be hard to sell. If you're making like a collection and you're giving people an option of, for example, I have 5 physical collages, maybe they're more inclined to buy it, right? I think any kind of there's many people that collectors, so I think you're bound to find a collector for anything you put out if you put it out in a correct way.
That's true. That's true. Yes, yes. It is the way that counts in this one, because, like I said before, it makes a lot of sense when you say about the music that someone can have the record and the others have the recording. Let's say the
Right.
MP3 or something like that. It makes sense indeed, but in the physical, I don't know. I have some collectors who asked me about if they can also buy the physical artwork alongside the NFT. And it made sense that way, but I don't know. Some rather famous artists and like Frank Frazetta did that, I think. No, I'm bullshitting. He just he just sold the NFTs, the digital ones. It's something that you know, we can see it in the future, maybe in one way or another.
I mean, the first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about NFTs, like physical NFTs for your art, is like the way you said about the animation aspect of Photoshop and how it's kind of this mechanical movement, right? I remember like one of the pieces I saw were like pieces, and the one of the biggest pieces would like go up and down, and like the galaxy would come out. Imagine if you had that in a physical in your hand, and these pieces could like move like slots, and you open up a slot and like a QR code is behind it and you scan it.
Ah, okay, yeah, now I get it.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
you know, you can play with
That
it.
would be
So like you open the piece, you scan the QR code, maybe there's a digital NFT as well, or like some kind of unlockable.
okay. That you know, that's an awesome idea. That's an awesome idea. The past, you know, was when I was making the hand-cut collages. It passed a bit my mind to make something like that, that could have a mechanism and doing some stuff, and experimented a lot with plexiglass, trying to make layers of art
Right.
between. Now they are kind of doing it metaverse in the same way. You can, you know, arrange them as a 3D object one after another and achieve the same effect in a digital way. But it's this one is very interesting. I mean, you know, I would love to do something like that at a larger scale.
Yeah.
You know, yes, something that will have a meaning through the motion that it makes, and yeah. You inspire me.
I'm glad. But yeah, I'm just saying it because I think there's so much untapped potential, and you know, being involved with Rare Candy, having seen so many NFT drops and so many collections, and for me personally, I'm sick and tired of seeing like the PFP projects, right? This like profile projects of let me put out this collection and sell it for money, but it has actually no use, right? And not only that it doesn't have a use apart from a profile picture, but you don't even really own it for like what am I saying? For like kind of commercial use, right? You can have it as a profile, but you can't use it on certain projects. I remember like an NFT project came out. I can't remember what it was. Was it the Bored Apes or something? You know, don't quote me.
Bored Apes, yeah, they give you the rights to use it if you have one.
Right. Is that the project I'm thinking of? Because I remember
This is one
one?
project that I know. Maybe there are others also, but I'm not sure. When we were making the art avatars project, which was kind of like a PFP project again, but you know, we were 60 artists. most of them are known and stuff like that, and we try to do something all together. And we were discussing the thing about the rights and where they can be used and stuff like that. There were many opinions, and I think they kind of agreed that anyone can use it in any form. But then when Bored Apes came out, I think they took it one step further and say that if you have one, you can use it commercially in any way you like.
Right. I think one of the biggest problems is that things aren't clear when it comes to those kind of things. Like, you don't really know until you ask, or you have to kind of search for yourself. But this specific project, I'm not sure if it was the Bored Apes or whatever, but I remember one that came out and said you can use it commercially anywhere that you want. So I think Sony came in and bought like maybe 4 or 5 characters, and now they're making a NFT digital band, right? Because they own the rights. So that for me makes sense. You're gonna spend like however much money on a profile picture, but you can reanimate it, you can create it into a character, you can do something with it, and that makes sense. That's why I'm saying I'm really excited to see what other use cases there are, and why I'm talking to you about, physical things opening up.
Yes. Yes, there are many uses. I'm not so much about the whole PFP craze and all this. I think it's just a phase that, most of them are kind of without value, but value will come out through the process. I mean, new ideas will come. Maybe some will start looking at that way. How can we make something that we can make money out of it, or do something bigger? But because things are a bit unclear, as you said at this point, you do not see a lot of things like that coming out. You see most of this sea of PFP projects all trying to sell them without without having something in mind for.
Right.
But some will do it. Most of them will not. But we will see. I'm not. I'm optimistic about it. I'm optimistic. Yeah.
And how did you find your success in the NFT space? Like, did you do any promo, or did you simply just put out on the marketplaces and it just kind of did it by itself?
Yeah. Well, I did it like that in a way. I think that when we started at 2020, we were kind of lucky because things were starting out, and if you had something nice, and meaningful, there were buyers to get it the next 5 minutes. I mean, it was very simple. But we also, I think, we follow the examples of the others. I think there were other users, other artists back then. We saw what they were doing, and we did the same thing. And there were very good examples back then to understand how you can do it. So it was easy for me. It was easy and enjoyable. I will not lie about it. My previous life was not very easy and enjoyable, but this was easy and enjoyable. And now, there are a lot of artists, there's a lot of art, there is a lot of talent. So things are more difficult for an artist. You need a lot of promotion through Twitter, through Discord, but there are still ways you can use, to get your message out, because the whole idea is it's not that you are not doing something good. I mean, it's that not a lot of people are seeing it. I mean, to buy it. It's as simple as that. If you are dedicated, and if you are spending a lot of time at Twitter promoting your art, I've never seen something like that at previous digital media. I mean, there was not so much self-promotion. I mean, self-promotion was kind of prohibited in a way.
Right.
But here we can do it. I mean, no one will come out and say, "Oh man, what are you doing 20 times per day?" No one will ever say something like that. So this is what you have to do. This is what, at this point, the successful artists are doing. They're spending a lot of time promoting, making contacts, writing comments, supporting each other. Again, it's a simple process. I mean, for an artist, because the artist wants to live by this. This is the way. I mean,
Right. I mean, it's simple, but it's not easy, right? And I
it's
think
simple, but needs a lot of work.
yeah, and I think you make a great point because, people listening may think that, oh, the time is over, you can't, sell
No,
NFTs anymore. Like, I think the point you're making is great because obviously you were an early adopter and we can see the benefits of that, right? And it worked for you without any promo, you had good work.
sure.
And being one of the very first few that did it, you had success in it. But I still see a massive potential for people to have independence and sell the art, no matter how many people have gotten into the scene now. But there is one other kind of difficulty which has also played a part in the Rare Candy project selling as well, which is the thing about gas prices, right? Gas
Yeah.
fees. So how has that impacted you in terms of, you had your success early on and you were selling all these things? Like, I'm not aware when your last drop was, but for example, in 2022, how have you seen things change from when you started?
About the gas or in general?
In terms of selling NFTs and,
Okay.
through because of the gas fees.
Well, things were like that. At 2020, Ethereum was about $200, and the gas fees were, nothing. I mean, half a dollar, maybe 20 cents or something like that to make an NFT. So yeah, you were selling something for one ETH, and you gained almost, let's say, one ETH. Now, the gas can be $300, $400, but one ETH, it's not $200. So there is again, maybe you get more money now, and you are selling better than at the beginning in a way. I mean, gas is not so prohibiting for the artist, even high gas. I mean, it's not so difficult in a way, but you must. The good thing about this space is that the artist can take control of his her art. It's very unique. It takes work, indeed, but the freedom it gives you, it's something very valuable. I mean, so gas or not gas, I mean, my advice for someone who's starting now, it's to jump in, learn first what's going on a bit, educate a bit themselves about what's happening, and then try to contribute to the community. I mean, you do not have to contribute only with art. You can contribute with ideas, with support, with stuff like that. I mean, being a member, you don't have to all day saying I'm selling this, I'm selling that, I'm doing this, I'm doing. It doesn't matter. I mean, jump in, get in, start using social media, because this is why social media were created, for us to expose ourselves and our art or our job or everything else. And things will go smooth. I mean, the gas is something that about art. I mean, about the art NFTs, it's not something very, very vital. If it's low or high, it's. I think it's more about the games and stuff like that need to make a lot of transactions that gas is creating problems. But for an artist, okay, you will sell 2 NFTs. You will try to sell 2 NFTs per month. Do your best, man. Do your best to promote them.
I think it depends also on the price of the NFT, right? Because if there's one if you're trying to sell on Ethereum and your prices are not very high, if it's not like over one ETH, then a lot of the time you're paying more on gas than you
Yeah.
are on the art. Those are the kind of artists, that I'm talking about, because
Yeah, I know.
if you're trying to say like you're selling something for $3,000-4,000, okay, it makes sense to pay $300 in gas. But a lot of the artists that are coming up, or even some of the originals that we do, are like $150, and the gas is like $300-400, which doesn't really make much sense.
Yes, yes. This is why the other blockchains came out, like like Tezos and
Right.
I mean Tezos blockchain and started getting up right in the start of the high gas fees problem. I mean, there is a problem and there is a way. And even though I didn't mint anything at Tezos, I see artists that I know, especially collage artists that I remember from the previous social media journey. And they're doing only Tezos. They're minting only Tezos.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, now even the floor prices on those sites has risen, right? So something that perhaps before was, the it's sorry, not the floor price, but the highest price before must have been like 100, let's say, right? $100. Now it can go up to 1,000, 5,000, which is a good sign, whilst keeping the fees low. But you said you haven't had any experience with any other blockchain apart from Ethereum?
Yeah, meaning no, I didn't have any other experience. I should have, but I didn't. Not just out of, just I didn't.
Right.
But it's all about the community, It's not. I mean, I saw how Tezos community started and the artists that took part, and some of them were very energetic and had a following and brought other artists, and this is how it happened. I mean, it was all about the community. So I think that in the future we will see more local blockchains in a way. I think now we have an international space, but then we will see maybe something in Greece. They will have blockchain, they will have all that stuff, and a way to validate things, and maybe a local community. And, Ethereum may be something that it is also the Ethereum somewhere.
Right. So what kind of technology would you maybe want to see in the future in this space that would make your work easier, or that you could expand into something else? Like, have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, let me see. I think all the virtual reality stuff are, the most interesting. I think
Right.
this, even with the AR, okay, it's cool. AR, it's cool, but I think this is where the the real innovation is. And I tried a bit also myself. Bought an Oculus Quest and stuff like that to done a bit of art in a digital. In a virtual space, which is something magical. I mean, only you should try it only for the experience. You don't have to create it, but only with the freedom of creating, doing something unbelievable. This is where the things will come, and this is where I think that my work and all of the artists' work will shine with a new light in a way. And it's again, it's communication. Above all, I mean, it's the communication thing, even in the virtual space or in the, let's say, digital space now with the social media. A better way of communication, a more.
Right. I think the way I see virtual reality for me is almost like a seventh sense, right? So it's like we add on another element, another layer. And for example, I'm also a music producer. So it's very interesting for me, the technology, not just because of the final product, right? So having like a piece of art and seeing it in a virtual space. For me, it's also, like you said, the creative process. Like, I don't want to be looking at a screen making music, right? Or like looking at keys. I want to be somewhere else. I want to be in a virtual world and I can grab things, I can take things, or even like when I'm editing, when I'm doing video editing, I can just do it with my hands. I don't want to be clicking things with a mouse. So I think it's
Yes,
going to
yes.
be, super interesting when we get to that point.
This was, I loved it when I haven't any experience. I just bought the Oculus, bought the, how do you call it? I don't remember it now, the program. And, when I first the draw line, I was, I cannot believe what I'm doing now. I'm in a space all by myself and I can do everything. And, it was fascinating. Well, we will see. But it did not, attracted me enough to stay at that space. I think I will agree with what later Otamani said at some point, that I cannot smoke it while I'm wearing it. So I cannot smoke. I do not like it. I do not like it.
You need to find the virtual smoking.
Yeah, it's not the same. Behind this, funny thing is, something bigger that I think that now the hindrance of the virtual reality is yet the headset. Maybe if the headset becomes something smaller,
Right.
in a way, and easily can put it in, out and stuff like that, then we will see the real revolution.
Have you
That's
seen
my
the
point.
have you seen the new one that Facebook are working on?
I saw some prototypes.
The one that's like, I think it's supposed to be like see-through, so you see through like into the world. So it's meant to be kind of like a mix of augmented with
And
virtual.
yes, yes. It's again a headset or something like glasses.
They blur, so you can't see what the product is. But I think it's like a physical headset that you wear. But I think the front can either close, so it's like virtual reality completely, or it kind of comes up and you can see
Yeah,
through, and
it's
you can.
camera and glasses at the same time.
Right, yeah. So you can interact with the environment if you want to.
Yes. This is a step further. I think this is the one. And this was what most of my friends didn't like, because I tried to put a lot of people inside, to see to. Everyone was like, I cannot wear it. And at the end, it was for me like that. I can wear it for a half an hour, but later I'm like that. I would have preferred something that it was less
Right.
volume in my head
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Well, we're still very early on, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah, but very
understandable.
early. Mostly we're experimenting in everything. The blockchain also. It will always be a sort of test. It will not stop. It will always be a test, and every level and every test we achieve, we will go maybe somewhere higher or somewhere lower. It depends.
Right.
And,
Um,
it will.
just keeping an eye on the time. I know you're busy, so I don't want to like keep you for too long. But maybe
Okay,
before we,
but it's very. It's a very nice conversation.
for sure. I mean, one topic I would like to get into before maybe we kind of round things off. Um, do you have like any experience in metaverses, or have you even thought about how your art could live within some metaverses?
Yes, I have the experience in the way, I visited some of the online, of the virtual museums, like a museum of crypto art, which is my favorite, and galleries at voxels, that I had some pieces, or this is where I got my art to live, to the metaverse.
Right.
And, I would like to make something more like a 2D thing. I would like to make something that has volume and space, maybe a multi-layered piece that someone can see from different points of view, or even walk through it and stuff like that. Yeah, this is this is what I like to see with my art in the future at the metaverse.
Have you seen our gallery?
And
I'll share with you a link after we're done.
yeah,
You can take a look. We have on Crypto Voxels at the moment.
Yeah,
Well, the
CryptoVoxels.
one that we're most active, at least, is the one in CryptoVoxels. We have a bunch of other spaces, but they're still kind of like under construction.
CryptoVoxels was always it was my first contact with the metaverse when I started, and a bit at Somnium space because there were a lot of people doing stuff there. But voxels, yeah, it was always the pixel art.
Right.
That's another medium that I tried a bit, but I'm keeping it for a later time to experiment and do art because I love it. Pixel art is one of my favorite to watch, and animation especially that have this kind of it's very digital.
Right. Lastly, maybe we can talk about any future aspirations you have for your art, or anything you're looking forward to into the future, or what you're looking to do.
You know, one my favorite gallery is Async, and this is where I did the Cosmic Chess, which is a chess piece that you can play chess at the blockchain with it. I don't know
You
if you know
play.
how. Yeah, I mean, you can play.
How? How do you like interact with the pieces?
Well, when I had the idea at, 2 years ago, I wanted to make a chess that you know can be playable, and I think it was the gallery you could do something like that. So I did this at Photoshop with every piece on the board, you know, as a different layer and movable and stuff. And I submitted it. They loved the idea because Conlan is also, you know, he likes to play chess a lot, and it's one of his passions. So they did the programming and they created a different interface where you can submit your move. It's like a little chess, you know, the way they see it, you see it at the newspapers, you know, so on. And you play the move there, and you know you make the transaction, and then you see the move at the original, at the async piece. And back then, Conlan played a bit with the community, so there was a game of chess, and that was really fascinating because and with every move it was changing, and. You know, I had a move like, you know, the winning move with a hand that is taking, you know, the king of the opponent's king. And I also had the moves for every piece that was taken. So you could see it, the background falling at the cosmic void. And yeah.
Is there any videos of this that we can see somewhere?
Um, Well, video, no, we don't have a video, but I could send you the link of the piece so you could check the history. I mean, because every move is a transaction in a way. So every move is recorded, so there is every move in.
Okay. I'll try use some B-roll. Sometimes I do B-roll when we're talking on the show, you know, about what we're talking about. So I'll try and put some B-roll footage of the chess pieces, so
Oh
people
yeah,
can see.
that will. I could send you all the links that you need. I have also a GIF that I could send you.
Sure.
It will be. Yeah, that was the piece I'm mostly proud of making it. And I like all the philosophy behind the async art. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff, kind of a bit like a game. I made another piece. It was Descent to Hades. That was the name of the piece, where you had the player, the hero. Persephone is the hero. I mean, and there are the monsters, the villains, and you can change the different weapons that she has, or the different armors, and there is one combination, winning combination for each enemy. So if you make the right combination of weapons, there is a sword, there is a pistol, and an armor, and some traps kind of thing. You take out the enemy, and I made some fatality layers, so I can give to the collectors. I mean, who will try to make the right combination. That was interesting. I think I didn't communicate it the right way so everyone can understand what's going on, but I can do something in the future that will be more fun and more easier for people to understand. But this is what fascinates me more about right now, about what's happening with NFTs. I mean, I can do, and I suggest to every artist always to try to do something with it, because we're making a digital artwork. Okay, anyone can make a digital artwork. I mean, this is not the point. This is not the meaning. I mean, it's something that we are interacting with the blockchain. And there is this change, it is fascinating. It is, one step further from the idea.
For sure. I think that's a great point to leave it at. Thank you, George, for your insights and for being here today. I really appreciate it. I'm going to have all your links, anything of yours, linked below. Anyone listening, watching, thank you for being here. You can join our Discord. You can follow us on social media. Until the next one, peace out. Thank you, George, very much.
Thank you for the sweet talk.
Thank you.